Hello everybody and welcome back to Tales of Arise. Now, what I want to do, I was going to continue with our playthrough. I'm going to get to that, but I want to get through all of the Reminiscing. I want to catch up with it really, so that when we do...
vegetation certainly gives this realm a distinct, if somber, ambiance.
Seems like there's lots of fruit and plants that we can eat.
I also can't help but notice the ceaseless howling of the wind.
It should be easy to dry our laundry out here.
I can't tell if these two are actually having a conversation or what.
Yeah, let them carry on. Right, yeah. I want to get down through all of it so that... Because we watched all these ones, these are done. We got quite far down, but there's so many of them that I want to get them all out the way before we move on, so that when we do eventually come back to a camp, we can continue watching them and get all of them done. Where was it? Where's the shield? Kisara's shield, okay. Start with that one.
I noticed your shield just appears out of nowhere whenever you need to use it, just like Shion and her gun.
Does it use the same Renin transferal technology too? Don't you need astral energy in order to use that?
You do. Obviously, I can't cast arts myself, but I'm equipped with a device that has the necessary energy charged into it. As long as I'm using the device, I can call forth my shield whenever I like.
Equipment charged with astral energy isn't all that rare.
So basically, there's nothing special about Renin technology that prevents Danins from using it?
No. But as you might expect, normally they'd never be given any of it in the first place.
It's not as if just anybody gets to have it here. You need to earn Lord Dohalim's trust before you're allowed access to it.
What makes you so sure he's not bribing you?
Rinwell.
I'm just being honest. It's not normal.
I can understand why you'd be skeptical. However, Elda Menencia truly has transformed and evolved from the sort of realm it once was.
Yes, she's right. And that's exactly why I...
Miguel?
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll explain more once we arrive at our destination. This area right here is where the real Heart of Darkness used to lie in Menencia. It wasn't unusual for the holes we dug in this earth to become our graves, and for the stones we mined to serve as our tombstones.
That's right. I can remember it so clearly. I remember how the adults used to describe this place. Like it was setting foot in the gaping maw of a monster. But anyway, that's all history now.
It is. All the bloodstains on the rocks, the still air, the constant stench of death. We're very lucky that it's all in the distant past. The smell of sweat and debris still hangs in the air, but at least now the Danins of Menencia can live with joy in their hearts. And it's you that we have to thank for this, Lord Dohalim. We would never have come so far if it wasn't for you.
Miguel, why bring all of this up now? What exactly is the point?
I just wanted to remind us. I think it's important that we remember how precious the rights we enjoy under his lordship's grace truly are.
But I still don't get why...
You'll understand soon enough. For now, I simply want you to keep what I've said in mind as we continue our journey.
I didn't realize you held my strength in such high regard.
I meant what I said before. Anyone who tries to fight you will have a hard time of it. How long have you been wielding that enormous shield?
Ever since my first job as a guardsman. Our duty was to stop any attack dead in its tracks, then take all that momentum and turn it right around to smash the attacker.
But why bother blocking in the first place? Wouldn't it be better to just dodge the attack and hit back immediately?
Try doing that when you've got someone standing behind you that you need to protect. This shield is a symbol of our conviction as guardsmen. Every time we successfully block an attack, our fighting spirit only grows stronger.
So what you're saying is that, unlike Law, you can actually take a hit.
I'm right here!
We have to stop Sir Kelzelik.
Don't you think it's about time you drop the sir?
He always treated us Danans with such warmth and kindness. Did he have such bad intentions all along? I just can't bring myself to believe it.
Forget about intentions. We should assume he's the one who's behind all these incidents. It's not surprising to me that there are Renans in Menancia who resent Dohalim, but I didn't expect one would be so close to him.
Yes, I suppose you're right. I guess all of us here in Menancia are still some way off from being a truly united realm, aren't we?
Are you going to be okay, Kisara?
I don't know, but I definitely don't want things to end like this. Please, lend me your strength.
Of course. Anyone who tries to oppress others is our enemy, and we'll gladly stand against them. Besides, I want to believe that this realm really can do better too. Kisara, do you have any idea just what Kelzelik might be planning at the palace?
It's hard to say. I've never seen him use any powerful arts, and I don't think he's particularly skilled with any weapons either. However, I have noticed him accompanied by something strange from time to time.
What kind of strange?
I don't know. I couldn't see anything with him, but I could sense something was there. Probably some sort of Zoogle.
An invisible Zoogle?
We'd better be careful in any case. I'd rather we not find out after it jumps us and tries to rip our throats out.
Where did Kisara run off to?
You don't think she took off after Kelzelik, do you?
No. Nagal entrusted her with his dream. She wouldn't do something reckless like that. Right now, I think she just needs time to think. What she does from here on out is up to her. She has to be the one to decide.
What was Kelzelik even after in the end?
Isn't it obvious? Clearly he wanted the throne for himself, and was gonna have his goons execute Dohalim to get it.
He had to have known he couldn't hope to defeat a lord. He should have run while he had the chance, instead of holding himself up in the palace.
Maybe he thought he couldn't run? Either way, the outcome's the same.
So he got desperate and decided to go for broke?
One might argue that he was another victim of mine, in a sense.
Huh?
There is no greater calling in life to a Renin than the crown contest, yet I refused to take part. The shock he felt at that must have been truly immense. Enough to drive him to revolt, even though doing so meant defying Renin hierarchy.
I know I've said this before, but Danans and Renins wouldn't coexist here if it wasn't for your stance.
But that was no lofty idealism on my part, nor do I feel any pride at what occurred.
Spare us the pity party. You literally just joined us to uphold those ideals.
Shion!
No, she is absolutely correct. I shall speak no more of my misgivings.
Hey. Is it just me, or have those two barely spoken a single word to one another?
I know, right? But after everything that happened with Nagal, is it really any wonder?
Kinda puts a damper on the whole journey though, huh? How long do you think they're gonna keep this up?
If it bothers you that much, why don't you ask them?
Why do I have to ask?
How come you walk together like that?
She really doesn't beat around the bush.
You mean Kisara and myself?
You hadn't noticed? You've been practically joined at the hip ever since we left Vicente.
I guess it's force of habit, most likely. I was always ready to protect him, should the need arise. It sort of came with the job description.
Right. From being in the Elder Menancia Guard. Although, Dohalim's pretty capable of defending himself, isn't he?
Having guards doesn't necessarily mean the one being guarded is weak. No one's perfect all the time.
Even so, it's not like they're entirely wrong, Kisara. You're no longer in my employ, after all.
I don't know. I mean, if it's what she's used to and you're both comfortable with it, then who are we to judge?
But she doesn't serve him anymore. It isn't normal for her to keep following him around like she still does.
You know, she's probably right. And a lot has changed over the last few days. I guess it wouldn't hurt to rethink our relationship in light of the new circumstances. Perhaps I'll give it some thought after all. Does that sound all right by you?
Of course.
You might want to stop asking his permission for every little thing.
Off old habits. I'll probably need a little time to get fully used to it. I've noticed that sometimes we come across enemies who fight like you, and try to dodge our attacks at the last second.
I hate those guys. I can get some hits in when they move into attack, but otherwise they slip past damn near everything else I throw at them.
If what you're seeking is a way to more reliably hit them, there is a solution.
Try to outclass them on reflexes?
I possess the ability to command Earth elemental beings to some extent. They emerge as the land itself and take root on my command. They will swiftly bind the enemies, at which point you can dispatch them.
Huh?
What he means is that he can make plants grow to hold the enemies in place. At least I think that's probably what he's saying.
I'm glad at least one of us understands him. So basically, if we find an enemy that likes to dodge, we should let Dohalim handle it.
I shall do what I can within my modest means to help.
This sure is one rugged road. You'd think they'd keep this at least a little better maintained, right?
Why spend energy fixing that which is rarely used? Repairs require time and effort, which in our world means slaves, often in great numbers. For you, it may be a simple request, but that can quickly become another's difficult burden. Nobody gains anything without someone expending effort.
And you know, somehow that someone always ends up being a Danon, while the Renans are the ones who gain.
True enough. Ideally, in a perfect world, I think it's only fair that the ones who need it should be the ones to perform the work.
However, when doing so could be dangerous like it is here, there are many who would prefer that it be others who risk their lives in their stead.
So, what you're saying is that people will just put up with the inconvenience until someone else comes along to fix it for them?
Indeed. And it is those who can no longer bear that feeling that inevitably take action. Much like the Danons in our group do so now. As strange as it may be to hear such a thing from the likes of myself.
It's true that most of the Danons in Calaglia have been resigned to just accepting things as they are. Still, we can't just blame them for...
What are you making that face for? You're not worn out already, are you?
Nah, just regretting I ever said anything in the first place.
Still thinking about how to act around Dohalim?
That obvious, huh? Except I don't think I'll be changing much after all. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to stay his servant. However, I am going to treat him like a fellow comrade, the same way I would with you or anyone else. For as long as I can remember, I've spent my life protecting others. But isn't that what friends do too? Support and protect one another in times of need?
Which in the end pretty much means doing as you've always done, right? If that's what you're most comfortable with, I'm certainly not going to give you any grief over it.
Actually, I've been thinking about how I ought to act around you all as well.
Oh?
When I set out on this journey, it was to rid Reminiscing of its enemies, and search for wisdom in the outside world. Wisdom that I could potentially put to use on my return. I'm grateful to you all for letting me tag along. But it got me thinking, what am I actually contributing by being here?
What are you talking about? You know how to hold a weapon, don't you? That's help enough.
Is it though? Sometimes I wish there was more I could be doing to pull my...
Oops, sorry about that. Jeez, I'm famished.
Now that you mention it, what do you guys normally do for food and meals when you're out and about on your travels?
What do you mean, what do? We find stuff to eat and eat it. So long as it's meat, I'm not fussy.
Eating what you like can be good for morale in the short term, but you need to think about your diet if you want to stay healthy.
Does that mean eating vegetables too?
Isn't that obvious?
It does, which I guess hasn't been happening up till now.
Yeah, to be honest, we could be eating better than we do.
Understood. In that case, I'll just have to make sure you're all staying healthy and eating right myself. Fortunately, I happen to know a thing or two about cooking as well.
You hear that, Law? Sounds like you'll be eating your greens after all.
What is it?
No, sorry, it's just... I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on all this.
It will do her good to have a project.
No, not Kisara. I meant you. Was there anything you wanted to add?
Me? Certainly you're not looking to me for culinary skill, I hope.
Typical Renin, leaving everything to someone else.
Rinwell, I don't think...
That said, should you need my skills on the battlefield, please rest assured I have no intention of shirking my responsibilities, regardless of who we may face.
I'm sure no one doubts that. Listen, guys, if we're traveling together, we should probably at least try to make an effort to get to know one another, don't you think?
I wouldn't get your expectations too high in that regard. Believe it or not, sometimes I'm not sure I even know myself all that well.
I'm amazed how easily you can move such a giant shield around like it's nothing.
Really? It's not actually as heavy as it looks.
It's really reassuring to have someone like you protecting us, though.
You know, I guess I never realized it before, but looking back, I've always been the sort to put myself in harm's way to protect those around me, even before I joined the Reminiscing Guard. So in a way, using this shield to keep you all safe feels like it's what I was meant to do.
You don't need to worry about protecting me. I don't plan on relying on you.
That's okay. It doesn't matter if you do or not. I don't protect people because they ask me to. I do it because I want to, and because I think it's the right thing to do. That goes for you too, Dohalim.
Me?
Yes. You see, you and I both want the same thing. We have the same goal. That means it's in my best interest to continue to protect and keep you safe as well. Even now.
I'm not sure how much protecting I'll need either, but I appreciate the thought. I'm sure you'll do us proud, Kisara.
Right. You can all count on me. I just noticed none of you other Danans have spirit cores. Why is that?
Both of my parents were part of the resistance in Calaglia. In fact, my birth was kept a secret from the Renins.
Mine too. We always lived in hiding, so I never had a spirit core embedded in me like I was supposed to.
What about you, Alphen? You were a slave in Calaglia before all this, weren't you?
To be completely honest, I'm not sure why I don't have one. All the other Danan slaves around me did. I was the only exception. They tended to keep their distance from me to avoid attracting any attention from the soldiers, because of my mask and all. What about you, Kisara? Do you still have your spirit core?
No. I was able to find a good Renin doctor who's sympathetic to our kind, and had them remove it before I left. They did such a great job, the procedure didn't even leave a scar.
One of the benefits of coexistence, huh?
I know that once the spirit vessel was shut down, There wasn't much need for me to hurry. But still, I didn't like having that mark of servitude lingering on me any longer than I had to. It may sound a little strange to hear me say this, but I'm just me now. Not a guardsman or a slave. I'm my own woman. And this is my chance to have a new beginning.
Shion, are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I already applied some healing arts to it. It didn't even leave a scar.
But his sword went nearly straight through you.
I'm all right. Unless I've turned into some kind of ghost and I'm haunting you all right now.
No, I know you're not. It's just...
Look, I appreciate you looking out for me, but I'm fine, really.
There was also that strange light that appeared when Shion was stabbed. It seemed to make the enemy retreat when he saw it. Alphen, do you have any idea what it might have been?
a light? I don't know. I was kind of preoccupied with other things at the time.
Now that I think of it, between that light and the blazing sword, just what sort of person are you, Alphen? Can you use Danon astral arts like Rinwell, perhaps?
He wouldn't know, Dohalim. He doesn't have any memories from his past, remember? Besides, we should really be getting out of here.
I suppose you're right. Forgive me. We've almost reached Nias, the capital of Mahag Sar. With any luck, we'll find a place there for Shion to rest.
Hey, Rinwell. What was that whole legend you were talking about earlier, back when we were by the gate?
Huh? Oh, you mean about the Darkwings? It's an old story about a Danon hero that's been passed down for generations.
Like I said, I sure haven't heard it before.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, long ago, there was an evil king who tried to bring all of Dana to ruin. However, a pure black owl heard the pleas of the people and decided to help. It chose a young hero and bestowed upon them a holy flame that was capable of vanquishing the king. The story goes that the young hero challenged the king and defeated them with the flame. Seeing Dana had been saved, the people flew the crest of the Darkwings as thanks to the owl for its help. From what I understand, it used to be a really well-known story before the Renins came.
I guess our people must have forgotten it over time. It's lucky for us you still know it. You sure are well-versed in these sorts of things, Rinwell.
You know, the part where the hero defeats the king with a flame reminds me a little of Alphen.
Come on, it's just a story. Besides, if we're talking about an owl helping anyone, Huro would definitely choose Rinwell.
Sure, I might have helped take out our own kind of evil king with the others, but I'm definitely no hero. That and Hoodle's wings aren't even black. Huh.
Hey, Rinwell. What was that whole legend you were talking about earlier, back when we were by the gate?
Huh? Oh, you mean about the Darkwings? It's an old story about a Danon hero that's been passed down for generations.
Like I said, I sure haven't heard it before.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, long ago, there was an evil king who tried to bring all of Dana to ruin. However, a pure black owl heard the pleas of the people and decided to help. It chose a young hero and bestowed upon them a holy flame that was capable of vanquishing the king. The story goes that the young hero challenged the king and defeated them with the flame. Seeing Dana had been saved, the people flew the crest of the Darkwings as thanks to the owl for its help. From what I understand, it used to be a really well-known story before the Renins came.
I guess our people must have forgotten it over time. It's lucky for us you still know it. You sure are well-versed in these sorts of things, Rinwell.
You know, the part where the hero defeats the king with a flame reminds me a little of Alphen.
Come on, it's just a story. Besides, if we're talking about an owl helping anyone, Huro would definitely choose Rinwell.
Sure, I might have helped take out our own kind of evil king with the others, but I'm definitely no hero. That and Oodle's wings aren't even black. Huh.
All of these ruins look like they were made pretty recently.
But if that's the case, then where do you think the people that used to live here went off to? There must have been Danans and Renans, right?
That's a good question. Even if the Danans rebelled and managed to overthrow the Renans here, there should still be some people around.
This debris. Do you think it could be the work of Renan astral arts?
Perhaps, but the appearance of these ruins is rather uniform, which leads me to believe otherwise.
Hey, Rinwell. That story you told us about the Dark Wings. It said that the evil king was vanquished with a holy flame, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Then there might be some truth to that old story after all. It looks like all the rubble here had been scarred by flames.
Let's not jump to any conclusions just yet. If we can find someone around here, we might be able to get them to tell us what happened.
I get the feeling Deadeye's signed up to be a rebel, so he could have a roost to rule. Heck, he's no better than a lord. In some ways, he's even worse.
I know. How could he use explosives on his own people?
And yet, despite the toll of his actions, none of the Danans we've seen seem to question his assumed authority in the least. If anything, they may well consider him a hero, which would say a great deal toward how deeply they resented the Renans here.
Still, I don't think this is as simple as saying the good guys won out over the bad ones.
Yeah, I don't either. Deadeye might have managed to drive the Renans out of Niez, but that doesn't make the way he did it okay. No matter which way you look at it.
A victory that's earned by throwing away the lives of his own people? No, that isn't a victory at all. I can understand that the Danans here are standing up against their oppression, but that doesn't mean they have to humiliate all Renans just to settle the score.
I'm perfectly able to stand up for myself, Alphen. Besides, I'm used to it by...
But you shouldn't have to be, Shion. It's just... What I mean to say is... When you've been a slave for so long, it's easy to accept that's how it should be because it's all you've ever known. Constantly being belittled is no different. I don't think that's fair. For me or for you.
The city is liberated, and yet the air still hums with fear and anxiety. It reminds me all too well of how Vicente once was.
Hums? You mean like music?
Yeah, none of this sounds like music to my ears. In fact, I've never seen any Danans with musical instruments in my life.
You don't need instruments to play music. It can emerge naturally from the sounds of people going about their day and the hustle and bustle of life.
You seem to care a lot about music, Dohalim. I didn't know that about you.
Have I not mentioned it? Before I was a candidate for the lordship, I had my heart set on the life of a musician.
You? A musician?
Indeed, music enriches the world around us. I trained day and night to hone my art. Words could not describe my bliss, as my notes carried with them the sights and sounds of nature, the ebb and flow of time, and the thoughts of people on the wind.
Dohalim.
Forgive me. My loquaciousness can get the best of me at times.
Don't apologize. It's interesting hearing what Renan culture is like.
Even though the Renans destroyed all of our arts and culture.
Personally, I was interested in the music of Dana as well. The fact that generations of lords deemed music to be of no use to their slaves and outright forbade the ownership of instruments is lamentable. Not that my words can undo the damage already done.
What is that ring of rocks over there for? They don't look like they formed naturally to me.
Oh yeah. Funny, I guess I've gotten used to weird rock formations. They didn't even register as being out of the ordinary.
Most likely, they were brought over by us Renans when we first invaded the planet.
Wait, those? So does that mean there's some kind of machine then? And if so, what in the world were they even used for?
To manipulate the properties of Dana's astral energy.
Really?
Think about it. Isn't it strange that the type of energy each realm collects is so fixed? Astral energy by nature isn't meant to skew towards one element or another so heavily.
So the Renans reformed it for the crown contest.
Sounds like the crazy thing a Renin would do.
Renans these days are more advanced than Danans in some ways, but even they don't seem capable of doing something on that grand a scale. Or is that something that's possible on Lenegis? Or maybe the Renin homeworld?
I can't claim to know everything about my own kind, but I myself have never seen anything that would be capable of such a drastic feat.
But at some point they did just that. Those are the sort of people we're up against. We should do our best not to forget that.
That Deadeye creep certainly has a few screws loose, that's for sure.
Forget that guy. Right now, we need to discuss how we're going to proceed.
What's there to discuss? Deadeye and his crew have already brought down the Lord here. Just let them finish her off.
I want to go after her.
I second that. I think it's the best thing to do right now. We don't know if the Darkwings have what it takes to beat her. I'm worried what'll happen if we leave her to her own devices.
You make a good point, Rinwell. And maybe I'm just being overconfident, but between us and them, I think we have a better chance at defeating her.
I have to agree. This realm isn't going to be truly safe as long as that Lord is still running around out there. We need to act.
Fine by me. But isn't Deadeye just gonna take all the credit once we're done?
Our job is to break down the walls that oppress Dana. What he chooses to build in their place, that's his problem. For now, we'll head to this Estaluva forest Bayfon told us about. Whatever we decide to do, though, we should take some time to rest first. We've barely stopped since Menancia.
Alphen, your blazing sword draws its power from Shion's Fire Master Core, right?
So I'm told.
Then why don't you use yours, Dohalim?
You mean my Earth Master Core, yes?
Yeah, I mean, you still carry it around with you, don't you?
I do. Each Master Core contains the astral energy harvested from Danan's slaves over the course of the last 3 centuries. Though only a select few qualified people, namely the Lords, can wield them, they nevertheless hold too much power to simply abandon.
If only the Lords are supposed to be able to use them, how come Alphen and Shion can use theirs?
That may be because Shion has embedded the Fire Master Core within her body, something which wouldn't have occurred under normal circumstances.
Okay, but why do you still carry yours around?
Just as Danans see Master Cores as symbols of the lives and resources robbed from them, so too do I view mine as a symbol of our lasting sins. The pain and agony wrought upon this world by my predecessors, as well as the injustice enabled by my own inaction, are all housed within my Master Core. It is a testament of all that I have done wrong. It cannot ever be used again, nor fall back into the wrong hands.
Dohalim.
You didn't differentiate between the deaths of Danans and the deaths of Renans.
Danans and Renans both spill blood and languish in agony all the same. I just couldn't bear to hear it any longer. That's all.
Little late for that.
I just don't know, man.
Don't know what?
Deadeye managed to drive out a real live Renin Lord. That's incredible. And he seems to have a lot of supporters surrounding him too. But he's got an attitude worse than any angry Zoogle. Plus, Niaz is in utter ruins. I don't have a clue what his game is.
The Renans are powerful. And because of that, it takes a strong leader to have any hope of toppling them. However, when you take down one dictator only to replace them with another, ultimately it's just business as usual.
If it'd been Zephyr instead of Deadime, I don't think things would have turned out like this.
Rinwell!
Yeah, I think so too. Zephyr did things differently top to bottom. He's not the kind of person who would have forced his own views or decisions on other people. When you do that, you're ruling over others, not leading them.
To be honest, I don't know what I would have wanted my dad to do if he was in that position.
Law.
The whole thing feels weird in a way. It's a weird kind of feeling, but at the same time, part of me also feels happy. Deadeye and my dad are two very different men. For now, I'm content knowing that.
The winds outside the capital are blowing as strongly as ever.
You can definitely see why people call this place the Valley of the Four Winds.
Indeed, Mahag Sar is the realm of wind, just as Ganeth Heros is for water.
Earth, water, fire, wind, light, and darkness. Rena is aligned to darkness, leaving each realm one element each.
Is that because some elements are easier to gather in certain areas than others?
That is certainly possible, but I suspect the biggest reason is to prevent the lords from squabbling over resources.
Funny. You would think infighting would come naturally to an elite class vying for a crown.
True, but the Renans rule as a minority. Fighting ourselves would just be destructive. Though, as you saw in Menancia, any abstention from fighting is merely a facade.
In the end, you all get usurped whether you like it or not.
That may be true, but something tells me that this time is different.
We have to catch up to the Lord first if we want answers. Let's keep moving.
This place gives me the creeps. You really think that lord is hiding out here?
Be careful. The air is dense with astral energy. Something's not quite right about this place.
How are you able to pick up on all this stuff anyway? Is it something that all astral arts wielders can do?
I must admit, I'm curious myself. Perhaps her Danon bloodline has something to do with it.
Dohalim.
Apologies. I meant no disrespect.
Stay alert, everyone. There's a good chance that she already knows we're here.
For the hideout of a runaway lord, this place is a lot bigger than I was expecting.
Do you think she had it built with that in mind?
No. Personally, I think this used to be part of a Danon castle or fortress of some sort.
How can you tell?
For one thing, it doesn't look like a storehouse. For another, it's old, and you can tell it was built to let people hole up inside of it.
Huh. I'll take your word for it. I don't know the first thing about brick. You know, I've always thought you were a smart little cookie, but damn, Rinwell, you really know your stuff.
It's no big deal. I've just read a lot of books is all.
If this is meant to be a castle, there wasn't much to it above ground. Are there such things as underground castles?
There probably used to be more of it above ground. That is, until 300 years ago.
So the main structure must have been lost during the time of the invasion, with only the underground part remaining. And then this lord decided to use it for her own purposes. Have I got that right?
But what reason could she have for using this place instead of staying back in her own castle?
That's what we're here to find out. Whatever it is, she's up to no good.
Right. It's all the more reason we need to hurry up and find her before it's too late.
By all appearances, it would seem she was researching something here.
You think so? What kind of research could she have been doing in a place like this?
Your guess is as good as mine. Hardly anything the likes of us could imagine.
If we assume it was because this area is rich in astral energy, then it's possible she could have been doing any number of things.
Indeed. Renan castles and spirit vessels are often found in such locations. Intriguingly, Danon ruins are also known for their abundant energy.
You Renans attacked us. Don't act like you're just some...
Sheesh, enough already! This isn't the place to pick a fight over this.
How can you be so calm listening to all of this? You've suffered at the hands of guys like him too.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm calm.
I can't believe this. To think they would give us a bad lead like that. Where could that lord actually be?
Beats me. That said, there's no point wandering around aimlessly trying to look for her. We should head back to Nias for now.
What's wrong, Kisara?
Oh, I was just thinking about what it meant for there to be castles here on Dana. People build castles to protect things that are important for one reason or another. But not simply that. They're also used to project a ruler's power.
So what you're saying is, even before the Renans invaded, the Danans were still being ruled over. It was just by other Danans.
That's most likely the case, yeah. Though who knows how they led their people.
But after seeing Deadeye, I can't picture them being all that benevolent themselves.
What if it's in everyone's nature to rule over and control others? What are we supposed to do about that?
If it really is in our nature, then no. All that means is we have all the more reason to fight it. That's all there is to it.
I still can't believe what that Almadria did. Not only that, but she was enjoying it.
It's patently clear she has no respect for human life whatsoever.
We need to take her out. I don't think I've ever felt so enraged at another person in my whole life.
Yeah! There's no way she's getting away with this!
Then we head for the underground docks. We need to hurry. Rinwell, can you keep moving?
Yeah. My family and I, we spent all of our days just living in hiding. Until one day when we were found and attacked. I was the only one my dad and the others hid. That's the reason I survived. While the rest of my family was butchered. The only thing that I could see was the crest of a lord glowing through the smoke. And then...
It was Almadria who did it.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Rinwell.
That woman. Did she really find the existence of Danon mages to be that much of a threat?
Enough to invade another lord's territory? No, I doubt that. Most likely, she was after their knowledge and techniques. She only did it so she could become stronger. That's the kind of woman she is.
In retrospect, I do remember her making it sound like she created that monster she summoned.
A monster. I wonder, do you all think of me as a monster? Because I'm able to use magic even though I'm Danon?
Rinwell.
Of course we don't think you're a monster, you dummy.
Huh?
I might have had to hold you back, but it's her fault any of this ever happened, not yours. Got it?
Law.
I wonder if those are the Fagin ruins below us. Shouldn't be too much farther now, if that's the...
I guess it's been a while since I had a bite to eat. Don't worry about me. I'm used to working while I'm hungry. It's no big deal.
It is a big deal. You should eat whenever you can. The last thing I need is you keeling over in the middle of a fight just because you didn't eat.
Never thought I'd get lectured on eating by a Renin, of all people.
Yeah, well, some of us Renans know what it's like to go without food, believe it or not.
What do you mean? I thought...
This isn't about me. Now, are you going to eat or not?
I would, if we had anything to eat, but we don't.
Actually, I have a little bit of food on me.
You've been carrying that stuff around this whole time? Not sure it's gonna be enough for the both of us, though.
That's why we're going to cook it instead.
Cook? I've never done anything like that before.
Me neither, to be honest. But we've got to make something out of all this, so might as well try. You really do eat through that mask of yours, huh? I'm impressed you can manage so well.
Huh? Oh, it's nothing. You get used to it after a while. Still, I'm glad we decided to stop and fill our stomachs. I've got a newfound respect for cooking now. But I guess that's easy when you're used to eating everything raw. It would have been perfect if it had any flavor.
Sorry it didn't live up to your palate.
Oh, no, that wasn't a knock on you. I was just... Sorry. That's not how I should thank you for cooking for me.
You've got me curious now. Is it just pain you can't sense, or are your taste buds shot too?
Oh, sure, my taste buds work fine. Although, apparently what I like tends to be a little out there.
How so? What's so unusual about what you eat?
Well, one time I couldn't get enough of these things I picked off a plant, but everyone else said they were way too spicy. Doc thinks maybe I crave spicy food to compensate for the lack of pain I feel.
Maybe it's best I take charge of the cooking. You know, just to be on the safe side. I can't guarantee it'll be to your tastes, though.
I said I'm sorry. Look, I'll learn to tone down my tastes in the future, so let's just put that slip of the tongue behind us already.